The Three Stooges, Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Howard, were slapstick masters who could make audiences laugh with a pie or eye poke. Their wild brilliance hid darker stories than their routines implied. Moe led more than loudly. His family and group survival were on him. With his frizzy hair and violin, Larry's childhood wounds inspired his performance. Curly, the popular favorite, fought monsters no gag could hide. Though known for humor, their lives were filled with problems few fans knew. Shemp's agonizing return and Moe's dying dream. The Stooges relied on Moe Howard from the start. He controlled the books, negotiated the contracts, and silently fought Columbia Pictures for any minor recognition offstage. He shouted and bullied his partners on stage. He actually carried the group's weight after others collapsed. Moe wanted one more Stooges story in his twilight years. He had been secretly planning a new initiative to honor their past, combine old routines with new material, and give longtime admirers closure. The dream ended in early 1975 when Moe was diagnosed with lung cancer. Moe outlived Curly, Shemp, and Larry. However, he died months after Larry's death. The last original Stooge, his final act never performed. His planned tribute was never seen. His silence became one of his most heartbreaking secrets. Replacement tragedy shadowed the Stooges previously. Halfwit's Holiday lost its heart in 1946 when Curly Howard had a stroke while filming. Audiences loved Curly. His childish purity and spontaneous vitality made him indispensable. Show had to go on. To fill the void, Moe's older brother and founding Stooges member Shemp Howard returned. Shemp had worked with John Wayne and Marlene Dietrich in Hollywood, but returning proved unsuccessful. Fans constantly compared him to Curly, rarely kindly. His anxious energy and drier delivery contrasted with his younger brother's unbridled brightness. Shemp flicks were underfunded, poorly lit, and recycled. It seemed like a declining group to audiences, but worse to Shemp. He was a placeholder for someone who would never return, not a performer. He died of a heart attack at 60 in 1955, leaving that silent anguish. Larry's scars and chaos charm. In 1902, Philadelphia native Louis Feinberg became Larry Fine, who never looked melancholy. His wild, frizzy hair and sweet, bewildered faces made him the perfect mediator between Moe's aggressiveness and Curly's chaos. He added a unique sweetness to the act after a childhood accident nearly devastated his future. His jeweler father tested gold using hydrochloric acid. In his youth, Larry mistaken a bottle of acid for water. His father slapped the bottle away swiftly, but the contents splashed over his forearm, burning his skin and muscles. The injuries left his arm weak and shaking, potentially ruining his life. His parents put Larry in violin lessons to strengthen his damaged muscles. Therapy transformed into talent. Larry's arm and skill improved enough for his parents to consider sending him to Europe for additional musical study. World War I ended that ideal by closing borders and preventing travel. Larry never dropped the violin. Although he was a stooge, he would sometimes play the violin and surprise audiences with grace in the midst of pandemonium. Larry was vulnerable due to his sweetness. Larry, unlike Moe, typically accepted the studio's rules and stayed out of the spotlight. He softened strikes on screen and off and attempted to keep tempers calm. He was exhausted by physical comedy and touring by the late 1960s. Larry was crippled by a major stroke in 1969 before Cook's tour was filmed. He spent the previous 5 years in a wheelchair, trying to dance despite his body's inability. Only weeks before Moe, he died in January 1975. For audiences, Larry was the group's soft heartbeat. For the Stooges, he was scarred from the start, shackled by commitments and tricked by success. Outside, the Three Stooges appeared invincible. In the 1930s and 1940s, household names shorts packed theaters. Sometimes their 18-minute clips were shouted louder than the main feature. They were being held in a contract prison, according to Moe Howard. They first liked their 1934 Columbia Pictures contract. $1,000 a week for the ensemble, although 3 men and subsequently 4 received significantly less than their box office poll implied. Columbia CEO Harry Cohn's open option provision was cruel. The Stooges' contract had to be renewed annually if the studio wanted it. The trio had no capacity to renegotiate, demand greater compensation, or assure security. If they failed to laugh, Cohn might fire them immediately. If they got ahead, they couldn't ask for more. This exploitation masquerading as opportunity kept them on a leash for nearly 2 decades. Even when their weekly income grew to $7,500, it was split among the group, and Columbia kept all re-release profits. Home video and TV syndication followed. In the 1950s and 1960s, their Their films made millions on new platforms, but the Stooges received no money. Moe furiously admitted they were America's most famous unknowns. Their features were well known, but the industry never respected their names. Unjust Ice survived. His merchandising stake plummeted in 1993 as Curly Joe Dorita died. The widow and granddaughter of Larry Fine sued Moe's heirs for stealing over $5 million in income. The court case confirmed long-held beliefs. The laughter that benefited studios and distributors left artists with damaged bodies and diminishing earnings. Success made them legends, not rich. Slapstick's hidden cost. Millions of admirers thought the Stooges' comedy was easy. A hammer to the skull, a saw through a chair, a pie exploding over a face. Audiences laughed. Scars, stitches, and lifelong misery were the price of those jokes. The Stooges generally protected themselves with instinct, unlike subsequent Hollywood comedians who used stunt doubles and safety workers. Their director, Jules White, was known for physically risky comedy. His gags had to look authentic to be funny. Real typically signified mallets, heavy furniture, or sharp items. In one shoot, Larry Fine was stabbed in the back of his skull while playing a human dartboard that he survived, but the pin was surgically removed. When a slapstick gag failed, Curly Howard split his forehead, leaving him with wig-hidden stitches hours later. The cameras rolled again after Mo smashed his nose. Injuries were routine consequences of meeting Columbia's deadlines. Pressure persisted. Filming 8 shorts a year left little time for rest. Cuts, bruises, and concussions piled up. The 1934 Three Little Pigskins filming was the scariest. The Stooges were intended to play professional footballers for laughs. Since the trio declined the part, stunt duplicates were used, which was disastrous. For a joke, the doubles fractured bones, cracked ribs, and concussed. These moments appeared chaotic, frivolous, and exaggerated to the audience. But reality was a painful comedy. The man behind every laugh went home with swelling, damaged skin, or blood under makeup. Tragically, the Stooges were imprisoned by their slapstick. The studio most loved laughing, adversaries, violence, and dark roots. Therefore, they had to push their bodies to the limit. Hollywood was astonished by the Stooges' audacious move. Moe, Larry, and Curly published You Nasty Spy, a bold parody of Hitler, when America was still neutral in the war. Curly and Larry made Hermann Goering and Joseph Goebbels buffoons, while Moe portrayed dictator caricature Moe Hailstone. The 18-minute short, which mocked fascists with pies and pratfalls, was pioneering. Rumors spread that Hitler saw the satire and ordered the Stooges' execution. Whether myth or fact, the idea showed how dangerous comedy can be when targeting power. 3 Jewish performers used comedy to combat the Nazis. Not all of their trademarks were writer room derived. Not comedy, but fury inspired their most famous prank, the eye poke. At a poker game one night, Shimp accused Larry of cheating. He stabbed Larry's eyes with 2 fingers in rage. Larry staggered back, shocked, as Moe watched silently. Moe made that actual brutality into farce. The eye poke became a film staple, concealing its dark origin with laughter. Their beginnings were dismal too. The Stooges performed in Ted Healy's early 1930s vaudeville show before becoming famous. Healy was aggressive and violent. His rage drove the troupe away, and they formed their own act. In 1937, Healy's narrative ended mysteriously. After drinking at the Trocadero nightclub in Los Angeles, he fought Hollywood figures including mob-connected agent Pat DiCicco and young producer Albert Cubby Broccoli. Hours later, 41-year-old Healy died. The official cause was alcohol-induced kidney failure, yet he was bruised and cut. Too fast, the case was closed, leaving cover-up rumors. It reminded the Stooges that Hollywood was a place of shadows, secrets, abrupt violence, haircuts, limping steps, and a sad curtain call. Some of the Stooges' most famous features arose from pain and accident. Moe Howard's sharp bowl hairstyle, a symbol of his forceful leadership, has a curious origin. Because she wanted a girl, Moe's mother never chopped his curly hair. Moe was teased constantly due to his long hair. After years of humiliation, he cut off his hair one afternoon. The uneven chop set the tone for his lifelong hairstyle. The renowned Curly Howard stroll had darker beginnings. Before becoming the beloved clown, Jerome Curly Howard unintentionally shot himself in the foot as a youngster. Fearful of hospitals, he avoided treatment, limping forever. Curly made his limp funny by exaggerating it. Fans loved his stage shuffle, unaware that it started in pain. After Curly's stroke terminated his career in 1946, finding a replacement showed how delicate the act had become. Director Jules White considered rising Catskills comedian Buddy Hackett to replace Curly. Hackett declined, unwilling to toil in another's shadow. Shemp eventually filled the vacuum, but the ensemble never recaptured its magic. The Stooges won a rare victory in 1934 after decades of industry neglect. A Clark Gable-starring parody of Men in White, Short Men in Black, garnered them an Oscar nomination. Though they lost, it showed that slapstick might reach Hollywood's top. However, the years after brought more sadness than joy. Larry was paraplegic, Moe had cancer, and Curly Joe was deteriorating by the early 1970s. The original Stooges ended when Moe died in March 1975, months after Larry's death. Hundreds of chaotic, funny shorts survived. But behind every eye poke, pratfall, and pie to the face were scars, accidents, betrayals, and unrealized hopes. Their comedy entertained the globe, but their lives were tragic. The Three Stooges left a legacy of humor, but their true lives were fraught with grief, sacrifice, and secrets spectators few witnessed. They gave humor their health, freedom, and occasionally dignity. Though over a century old, their work still makes people giggle. Which Stooges character would you play for a day? Moe the leader, Curly the wild one, or Larry the middleman? Share in the comments. To see more unsung Hollywood stories like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on alerts.